again, everyone. I should say, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Black Man. Again, I'm your host, Dimitrius Stone. Really excited to have another local brother join us today, Mr. Dwight Harvey. Dwight, how you doing this morning?
I'm good. I'm good. A little tired, but I am good.
Excellent. Yeah, a little rainy and drizzly and wet and dark outside. But
Yeah,
maybe some people are listening to this when we are back to having some spring and summer weather. So,
exactly. I'm a warm weather kind of guy, man. Me and although I know we need this rain, and I'm thankful for it. I'm waiting for the sun to come back out and put some heat on me.
me too. Me too. We're tropical people, so we're waiting for that spring to come back.
Exactly.
Well, Dwight, let's jump right in. So, for the people that don't know you, can you just share a little bit about yourself? You know, your upbringing, where you grew up, what drew you to do the work that you're currently doing now, and yeah, just leave it open floor to you to tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, like you said, my name's Dwight Harvey, and I'm originally from San Diego, California. Uh, I just turned 60 years old, so I'm thankful for God that He's allowed me to be on this planet for 60 years. Uh, I'm the eighth of nine children.
Mm.
so
Man,
I got a pretty big family in San Diego. I went to, grew up totally in San Diego my first 18 years and went to high school at Lincoln High School down in San Diego. Uh,
yeah.
and ended up leaving there and kind of started going to school and went to school in Colorado at Air Force Academy. Went to school back in San Diego at Mesa Junior College, and then ended up going to play football over at Eastern New Mexico University
Mm.
for a few years, and lived in New Mexico for a while. And in New Mexico is when I actually started getting into education. I had originally I wanted to be a civil engineer. I had a African American guy talk to me in high school, and he introduced me to civil engineering, and so I thought I wanted to be a civil engineer. So that's what I started off being. And
Yeah.
when I transferred schools, they really didn't have that, and so I've always loved math from the time I was, little and listening to Schoolhouse Rock and learning how to multiply at an early age. And what's funny is I still have all those videos and still know them by memory.
Man.
But I met a guy in college, one of my professors, and he really started pushing me towards education. And when I look back on it now, I look back and I was always going to be a teacher. I just didn't know it. I was always called myself teaching the class in elementary school and trying to do all the work and helping people in math. I've always been good at it. So he really pushed me in college to become a teacher.
Mm.
And I got my first job teaching in 1990 down in Orange County, down in Santa Ana. And I taught high school math for 3 years. And 1 year I taught eighth graders, and I said, I'm not supposed to be a math teacher. I'm not supposed to be a teacher.
Was it just the middle
So
schoolers?
exactly that 1 year middle school man let me know I'm not supposed to be a teacher. And
Yeah.
so I left and moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and started doing IT work. I taught myself how to program computers and did that for about 10 years, and got laid off a couple of years. Got laid off at one point, and but all those years I was even doing project management and working with computers and things.
Mm.
I would always still tutor and be around schools and things of that nature. And so the last time I got laid off, I decided my wife and I decided to move back to California, up here to Sacramento. And I never really been in Northern California. I was always in Southern California,
Mm.
and got back into education and been back in it since 2003. And teaching high school and eventually got into administration. Uh, and I've been doing administration, since the early 2000s. And
Hmm.
which leads me to my current position where I work for the Sacramento County Office of Education at the Youth Detention Center over here by Kiefer, working with incarcerated youth. Uh, but all my life I've been, teaching and working with kids, and you never really know the impact until somebody else tells you, you know.
Yeah.
And so I've always just been, this is just what I do, work with kids, whether I'm coaching football or I'm announcing high school basketball games, or I'm putting on, symposiums or whatever for kids. But it's always been just doing that and just working with kids and talking with kids. And so that's a shortened version of my life, which leads me to, what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I love the fact that you have always had that desire, even when you realized that maybe it wasn't for you. And, and I would
Hey,
argue,
an eighth grader will do that to you, man.
I was just about to say, Dwight, I would argue that it wasn't for you. Um, I don't think anyone is really designed or prepared to be around 11 to 14-year olds. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. My wife, she's a middle school teacher. Well, actually, she's a middle school librarian, and she loves that age. She
Okay.
loves it, and I
Yeah.
just tell her, probably now that I'm older and I have a few more tricks in my bag,
Right.
then I could probably do it as an administrator. I don't know about as a teacher, but
Right.
I
Yeah.
think I think I can do it as an administrator. But but those, that age, it's a hard age because they don't know whether they want to be grown-ups, or they don't know if they want to go out on the playground and play hopscotch, be little kids, but
Yep.
but that's that age where it makes a lot of difference, what's happening, when teachers build relationships, or when not just teachers, with anybody build relationships, with
Yeah.
our kids at that younger age. That's when the impact truly happens, so.
Yeah. And man, kudos to your wife and any and all middle school teachers and administrators. I mean, I'm glad that there is a demographic of people that like that work, because you're right, it's needed. It's needed.
Yes. Yeah.
I can recall a little bit back to, when I was in middle school, and I just remember that was the most awkward time uh,
Hmm.
of my life. Just the way that I was growing in my body. Didn't I just I you felt awkward,
Yes.
awkward and unsure. So you're right. It's a critical time.
Yeah. Hmm.
I'm surprised, Dwight, that many of the brothers that we had on this show. I'm surprised at how many of us served in the military. I'm a veteran as well. Thank you for your service, by the way.
Hmm.
Um, Curious, what made you decide to join the military? Was it one thing, or yeah, what was your reason for joining the armed forces?
Well, I was I only spent 1 year in the service, and what happened was, out of high school, I started doing, when playing sports and football. I just started putting some film out to different colleges, trying to get recruited, and I actually got recruited by West Point, which is the West Point and Air Force Academy, and those were the only two colleges that I ever applied to. Out of high school, I never applied to any other college. I got accepted in both of those, and
Hmm.
decided to go to the Air Force Academy and spent that 1 year. So I don't profess to be a person that spent many years in the service or anything, but that the time I did spend allowed me to to a veteran status.
Yeah.
Uh, so I have my father and two of my brothers that spent years in the service. So I really thank them for that. But so when I look at my time in the military, it was really as an Air Force Academy cadet, for about a year and a half. And honestly, I think the military is great for individuals that it gives you structure. It changed me from who I was to a very different person in that year and a half. I was a little full of myself coming out of high school, thinking I was all that in a bag of chips, from athletics to academics. And it really, you know, going through basic training and stuff, it's meant to tear you down just to build you back up.
Right.
And it kind of showed me, it helped mature me, you
Yeah.
know, in that year and a half. And I'm very thankful for that time that I spent. And I just decided at that point to make a different decision and go a different way after about a year and a half. But when I look back on my life, I uh, I think that was a much needed time for me to change me and mature me.
Mm.
Uh, just in that year and a half. And when I speak to a lot of young men today, I ask them to look at military as an option, especially some of our young men that are coming out of situations that may not be good at a young age for them,
Right.
and it can be used as an outlet and be used just for what you need it for, and it
Yeah.
provide a lot of security and safety for you, in your later years. It can provide some very good benefits for you,
Yeah.
but you really have to look at it and see that it's good for you and
Yeah.
what you want to do, you know.
Yeah.
So, so
Yeah.
what made me go into it, honestly, is I was I wanted to play football, and those two schools offered me that opportunity. I really didn't understand the significance and the impact to going to or even being accepted to an Air Force Academy or a West Point. I didn't understand the significance, of it at that time, and the the importance for me at that time. When I
Mm.
look back on it now, I kind of say, that was a significant, accomplishment,
Huge accomplishment.
right. But I didn't, and I guess that's growing up and not really understanding, you know, as a young man, what the world really truly had to offer, and what it didn't offer also to people that might look like me, you
Yeah.
know. So, but the military was good for me at that time. It did some good things for me, and I think it kind of shaped some of my thinking now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
I love that, and I couldn't agree more. I only spent 4 years in myself, but I did 4 years in the Marine Corps, and it's.
Hmm.
I tell everyone also to consider it as an option.
Right.
No, being a lifelong or soldier or sailor or airman or marine isn't for everyone.
Hmm.
However, I tell all the young brothers that I work with as well, all the veterans that I know, African American males, the one thing I've never heard is I've never heard one of them say, "Man, I wish I had never done that."
Right.
They all say, "I got something from it, and I'm so glad."
Yes.
And that could be, I got the chance to go to the Middle East or Japan.
Hmm.
I would never have another chance to go there.
Right.
I got to see the world. I got to learn discipline. I got to get out of
Hmm.
my. I got to learn how to work and live amongst people who don't look like me. Whatever it is, every single person that I know
Yeah.
has benefited from that experience.
Yeah. And I look at it the same way. Like I said, it opened my eyes to things that I didn't know and didn't realize, and it really shaped my thinking when I look back on it. For a lot of things, and so it kind of helps me think. Even when things are bad, you can find some good in so many things, even
Yeah.
if it's even if it's, well, that didn't work, so let me
Mm.
do this. So, it could teach you, just how to not stop progressing, how to keep moving forward, even through adversity, you know.
Right.
So yeah, it was I look at, my brother, one of my brothers that he just put in 20 years, 20, probably more than 20 years. And now he's got another 10 or 15, working for the post office. But, it was critical for him when he went in, and it changed the trajectory of his life, and I'm sure it did that for my father, who,
Yeah.
grew up in Texas and, during a hard time, and for him and his twin brother to go into the service together, and I'm sure it changed the trajectory of their lives. The one great thing that came out of my dad going in is he moved from Texas to San Diego so I could grow up in San Diego.
That's Texas. San Diego,
So
Texas. Yeah, I'm a close.
I got nothing against Texas, so I don't want no hate mail. But I'm glad that he
Yeah,
grew up in San Diego in the sun.
yeah. That's so true, Dwight. I have a cousin who very similar situation. Recently retired from the Air Force Reserve. He was,
Okay.
drawing that retirement or pension or what you call it. But for the past couple of decades, he's also been working in the post office while he was in the reserve. So
Yeah.
now, he's in his mid 50s and he's about to, be drawing a military retirement pension and a post office. And yeah,
And
he's made some great choices.
exactly, exactly. So, and it's done that for so many. For people. Although, there's positives and negatives. You hear people talk about, being in the service or whatever. If you look at some of the good that can come out of it, I think it can be extremely worth it.
Yeah,
For our young men and women to do that or have that opportunity, but just use it for what it's for. It's just like I have three children. Well, they're not children; they're all adults now. I
yeah,
have a 27-year-old son named Malcolm, and I have a 31-year-old daughter named Alexandria, and I have a 38-year-old son named Andrew. And I tell them, to look at, you know, any and all those types of experiences and get out of them what they need. You
yeah,
uh, so all that can be good, for an individual.
yeah,
So.
yeah, definitely, definitely. I'm going to fast forward a little bit, Dwight. Can you tell me a little bit more? We'd love to hear more about what you're currently doing with SCOE, Sacramento County Office of Education, specifically as it relates to young brothers in the juvenile justice system.
Well, I just recently started working for SCOE. I've only been there for 6 months. I was for the previous 5 years, I was working for Twin Rivers Unified School District as an administrator and one working in their equity department. Uh, Once I transferred over to SCOE, I kind of got back into really having some hands-on work with some of our at-risk, or I hear different people say at-risk or at-promise, but some of our youth that really are kind of on their last leg. And so, doing this work, I've always, thought about, working, at the youth detention facility. So having this opportunity to do it now has been good. It actually reconnected me with Rolanda, who also does some
Yeah,
work in there. My one of the other administrators, my supervisor was saying, "Yeah, we have this young lady that comes in every Friday. I think her name is I can't remember her name. I think it's Rose something." I said Rolanda.
yeah,
And so it was great to reconnect with Rolanda, and she's kind of sparked so many other ideas in me to
yeah,
do some different work. But working with these youth, it's different for me because you know these the residents, they're just in such a situation to where some of them have done some things that they're going to be there till they're 25 years old possibly.
mm,
And so there's a need in there for them to talk to people that look like them. And I'm glad I've had that opportunity to do that. And, the good part for me is through my reconnection with Rolanda, it sparked some other ideas of like bringing mentors, a lot of mentors within the facility to talk to these young men, or even putting forth different programs. I'm working with a young lady right now to put together a program where she will come in and do some restorative practices, and do some circles with these young men, just letting them talk, and just letting them be able to be heard and be listened to, because sometimes that's all they need.
Yeah.
But just when I walk into a unit and see these young men in there, I can tell when they see somebody that looks like them walk in. It's I don't know, it's just a different feeling that I kind of sense from them, and they just want to talk, and they want to hear, they want to be heard, they want somebody to listen, to them. So to be able to afford them that opportunity, not necessarily trying to tell them, hey, you did this wrong, you did this, you need to be thinking about this, but really just to talk,
Mhm.
just so that they can be heard, and just try to figure out what I'm going to do next, you
Yeah.
know. So my
Yeah.
goal now is to, uh, through a lot of the work that I like doing, is to bring as many people in to talk to these young men and young women as possible,
Yeah.
and to do some things where we can set them up for success when they come out, you know.
Right.
And I don't know what that looks like 100% right now, but I feel like through some of the connections and networks that I have at my disposal, I feel like there's a lot of things that are going to be put in place, when they come out. I want to work on setting something up to get some of these young men jobs when they come out, and what does that look like? I want to work on having some of these young men be able to come back and talk to kids, in schools and stuff,
Yeah.
to kind of talk about what they went through and what they can do differently, or even have these young men and young women write about their experiences so they can see that this experience, even though it may not be a good thing, it can be used in a positive way, as they share their experiences with others, so that others may not make the same types of mistakes. I
Right.
want them to see that this isn't the end of the road for them, but it's just a fork in the road. Now, how we choose to use that information is what's going to shape us into who we are.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. Thanks
Hmm.
for telling about all the work that you're doing and what some of your plans and hopes are. Uh,
Hmm.
Curious, Dwight. I think about this often. So you you probably would self-describe yourself as a lifelong learner, if
Yeah,
I'm not mistaken,
yeah.
if I'm reading right. So, um, just in your time, just even being accepted by the Army and the Air Force academies, and working in the IT industry, and working for multiple school districts, and now with SCOE. Curious on when you have an opportunity to talk to young brothers, young men of color, specifically black men. What are some of the things that you maybe would tell them, or that you would hope that they would learn, that would, there are many of us who grew up in the same environment who
Right.
were able to avoid those pitfalls. How do we,
Hmm.
young men of color, with all the great work that you're doing with SCOE and the juvenile justice system, how do we get them to understand how to not get to that point in the first place? Any thoughts or ideas behind that?
You know, I just kind of get real with them and tell them about my upbringing. I grew up in I don't know if you want to call it the hood, the ghetto, or whatever in Southeast San Diego. My parents, we weren't affluent at all. We were very poor, growing up. I remember it was nine of us, nine kids, two parents and a dog living in a two-bedroom duplex growing
Woo.
up until I was like 7 years old, and my mother walked a little distance and ended up buying us a little three-bedroom house in San Diego. And that house is my mom actually still lives in that house. She's 88 years or 86 years old, still living in
Wow.
that same house. And that house is only 1,100 square feet. You know, so I didn't know I was poor.
Right.
You know, I just knew that I ate every day. The lights were on. And I didn't realize how hard my parents had worked until I remember I came home from college one day, Mr. Fancy Man, and I did my parents' taxes one year,
Hmm.
and I looked and, they were making about $26,000 between the two of them. And that
Hmm.
was when I was in college. So I can imagine at a younger age that their income was very meager,
Right.
but we still had shoes on our feet. We still, I mean, I was happy. I was playing in the canyon, playing in the dirt every day, as a kid
Right.
growing up. Didn't have to worry about eating and things like that. And so, what that taught me is it's not about the amount of money that you're really making. It's about, for me, it was just about, you know, showing individuals that there's possibilities out there outside of the money that you're making. You can still be happy. It's not about how much money you make. It's about providing a stable environment, providing a way for your kids to see positive, people in their life, and to get them involved. My father had us involved in sports from the time we were, 4 or 5 years old, and me being the youngest male, I'm looking up at my brothers, you know, and just following in their footsteps, and doing what they're doing. So having those people to look up to, whether they're your family members or they're other people in the community. So I said all that to say that what I talk to young men about is just finding a path that fits them, finding people, like-minded people that are positive and can do things, learning how to talk to adults in a positive way, and doing things that, you know even when the situation gets bad, because I've been in some bad situations. I mean, I wasn't
Hmm.
no angel growing up, you know but just remembering that there were people before me that went through just things that were just as bad, so what can I
Yeah.
learn from that? So I kind of talk to kids about what they want to do, and
Yeah.
talk to them about learning the importance of networking with people, such as yourself, meeting and just talking to people, because that's what's going to lead you to the next thing, you know and once I know I really got out there in the world and started really living on my own and doing things, I didn't realize that because of all those little things, it put this work ethic in me that I didn't realize I had until I look back on it now. But I mean, I've done everything from clean toilets to pumping gas, as an adult, with a college degree, just to make sure that my family was being taken care of and being fed, and not being afraid to humble myself, in order to move forward and take care of the people that I needed to take care of. So I
Yeah.
talk to kids about just responsibility, not just to others, but to themselves, you
Yeah.
know, as well. And I talk to them just about, just making an impact. And it's not that they have to make an impact in the world, but making an impact on themselves. And what does that look like for them to be able to do that? You know,
Yeah.
and then just being willing to change, because that's hard. It's hard for us to change. It's hard for us to accept that, hey, this ain't right. We ain't doing something good. Something's not good about this situation. What can I
Right.
do to move forward from this situation? Because
Yeah.
I know I've had some dark chapters in my life where things weren't going well and I wasn't making the best decisions, but I just had to learn to make a different decision.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and and it all comes down to something that my wife tells my youngest son all the time is, She still tells him to this day, he's 27 years old, make good choices,
Yep.
you know, make good choices. And
Yep.
even if you made a bad choice, you can still, okay, make a better choice now.
That's
You know,
right. That's right.
I talk to them a lot also just about the fact that just because you made a bad choice, it's not over. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. You get another opportunity to make a choice.
Yeah.
So, you choose that, you work that.
I love that, Dwight. There's so much good stuff in that. One of the things that I heard you mention, is just the ability to humble ourselves, but while working hard.
Right.
Um, and you said something that really resonated with me because I think a lot of young black men, sort of have this feeling that it's we're playing the short game, or maybe they
Hmm.
don't expect to live that long. Well, the
Right.
truth is there are too many of us dying at a young age. The fact of the matter, and the data shows that most of us are going to live to be older men, and
Hmm.
it's a long game. You said something that really resonated with me, and that I've experienced as well. Is even after I've earned a college degree, some of the jobs I've had since I had a degree, I was delivering newspapers in the morning. I was
Right.
working as a security guard. I even
Hmm.
drove for Uber and Lyft for a little bit, and I had a college degree.
Yeah, did all that.
Is all those little things add up to now where I feel
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm always want to improve, but I feel I'm at a place now, quite honestly, where my wife and kids and I live very comfortably,
Right.
probably more comfortably than I would have ever imagined when I was a kid. And it's just
Right.
because of the choices that I made. So it's playing that long game.
Yeah, exactly. And you really don't look at that. I mean, my youngest son, he's going through some things right now where he's trying to work on himself and find himself, even though he's walking around with a college degree, very intelligent, but he's just struggling to find himself. And that's the one thing that I talked to him about is, look, I really didn't get started till I was 27, 28 years old. I played around in school and did this and did that. And eventually 27 and 28, I said, you know what, I need to go ahead on and graduate. And now, I'm in a pretty decent place. We all wish that we could be at sometimes at another place, but I always say, I might not be where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. You know,
Yeah.
but
Mm,
playing that long game is huge, and you can't worry about it while you're in the short game. You
yeah.
know, you just
Good.
have to keep moving forward, and eventually, you will persevere, and you will get to a different place. But all those experiences from, like I said, hey, I was driving Lyft and Uber, and just because I wanted to, though, because I love to run my mouth, like I said. And I was doing jobs where I was getting paid minimum wage and I had a college degree.
Mm,
Or I would accept a position that, but I would say, it's not about making the money in this position, it's about learning in this position so that I could do something else. you
yep.
know but it's all about your experiences, and
Yeah.
all those things, when you put it together, eventually it's going to take you to the place you're doing what you really want to do. Like, honestly, I'm 60 years old and I still don't feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm still learning so that I can do what I'm really supposed to do and what I want to do. But I've also realized that I've done I've done some good things and some fun things, or I've done some things that I want to do, but I still have some things that I want to do. I just started going back to school to work on a doctor's degree at a late age in life. But I
Uh,
tell people I'm not doing it because I think I need a doctor's degree to do what I want to do. I'm really doing it because it's for other people. They think that if you have that, with what I'm trying to get into, oh, he must know what he's talking about, you
right.
know, because
Right.
so it's like I'm kind of just looking at my life now, like, okay, what is it that I really want to do? Like me right now, honestly, I want to get into educational consulting. I want to get into teaching administrators how to work with our kids, you
Yeah.
know, talking to teachers about how to manage their classrooms, and talking to people about uh, building a restorative mindset. Because when we really look at it, when we look at our schools that are disadvantaged, most of those kids look like me and you.
Yeah.
So if we're working with the teachers that are working with those kids to and teaching them how to build those positive relationships, I think we're really helping our kids on a global level. You know, when I was a teacher in the classroom, I was affecting 30 kids a period, so 100 something kids a day. Once I became an administrator, I kind of looked at it, even though I loved being in the classroom, I looked at it as now I can affect a whole school,
Right.
with policy. And the same thing, once I went to the district office, now I'm saying now I can affect every kid in this district with decisions or policies that I'm working on. And now, working at SCOE, it's like, oh, I can touch every kid in the county now. And so,
Yeah.
and if I'm talking to all these different teachers and working with them and doing these different things, now that information is going out, touching everybody, and it's leaving the state and going to different states and going into different industries, and things
Yeah.
like that. So your impact can be huge, uh,
Yep.
depending upon how you choose to use it. So that's kind of how I kind of look at things right now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very poignant. I think you touched about how your impact has grown with these
Hmm.
positions, and it's not about the title. Even
Right,
though I may have increased my title, I'm increasing the impact at every place,
right,
every step of my career. So I love that. I
right.
love that. Dwight, if I'm not mistaken, sounds like as you talked about your father that you grew up or at least spent a good part of your childhood in a two-parent household.
Hmm.
If I heard you correctly, you're married. How long you been married?
Yeah, I was, I've been married for 28 years right now. I met my wife. Uh, we've been knowing each other for about 33 years or something like that. We actually met on a blind date. I didn't even think she liked me.
They usually don't at first. We grow on them.
you know, but we've been together for 30 years. We have one son together. His name is Malcolm, and I have two other children. But my mother and father. My father was, he was throughout my whole childhood. He was there, but he wasn't there. You
Hmm.
know, uh, but he was in the house,
Okay.
and that made a difference. So when I talk to some kids whose parents, who are from these one parent family, I tell them, I said, I don't say, yeah, I know how you feel, because I'm like, I don't.
Right.
But let's talk about it, and through conversation with them, then I can then begin to understand what they have gone through, and
Yeah.
how that has affected them, which has made me, makes me say, well, I want to make sure that I'm there, so that my son or whatever sees something different, and fortunately for my younger son, me and my wife, he was with, he grew up with both his parents, but I can't say the same about my older two. So that makes me feel a very
Mm.
specific way, just knowing that I've missed out on a lot of things with my older daughter and my older son, not being in the household every day. And so
Mm.
that experience gives me the ability to talk to other people about and, just seeing what you miss out on when you don't have parents that are present, and I talk to teachers about, when you have a kid in your class who he's the man in his house, you need to understand that, you know you can't talk to him and treat him any kind of way, because in his house he's running things, he's the man,
He's the man at his
and
house.
so when he comes to school, that doesn't change.
Right.
So you have to learn how to manage that in your classroom. And just because he's raising his voice or puffing his chest out doesn't mean you need to send him to the principal's office. You need to learn how to have that conversation. and how you can communicate in the way that they're communicating,
Yeah.
with you. And it's not easy,
Yeah.
but understand his circumstance as opposed to your circumstance.
Right.
Understand that there's a difference, and don't just take the fact that because they're yelling or screaming it. To me, I look at it now as they're just passionate about their conversation.
Yep.
you know so what can I do so that they can hear me? And sometimes that means I have to step away, or
Right.
I might have to tell you, it ain't a good time for me and you to talk because I don't like you right now and you ain't liking me, so let's just step away, take a break, breather, and then let's come back. But
Right.
eventually have that conversation with them so that
Yeah.
they see you and they hear you, because our kids really, they just want to be heard. They want
Right.
to feel like we're listening. And
Yeah.
even if I don't agree with what they're saying, I sit down now and I've learned to just listen to you, and hear you. And that is where I feel like I start to build that relationship. And it's the same thing, with your family, with your wife, with your kids, with everything, uh, building, just learning to build a relationship. I don't think me and my wife could have been together this long without learning how to communicate
Mhm.
and build a relationship. You know, I don't
Yeah.
think my mother and father could have did it, even though their relationship was different. My dad did what he had to do, or my mother did what she had to do with what they had. You
Yeah.
know, so
And
building
Dwight,
those relationships and communicating is a big part of all that.
yeah, that's a huge key. Dwight, you said something that I don't think I've ever heard anyone explain it better as far as teachers communicating with young men of color in their class, is that you are talking to someone who is figuratively and probably literally the man of their household.
Right.
And I think that's worth repeating.
Mhm.
You're not talking to a young boy who has to go home and answer to a father figure. Sure, there's a mom at home, but often, especially once we get to high school, we're already bigger than our mom. Although
Right.
she still runs the household, but
She's still gonna whoop our butt if we get out of line.
still gonna whoop our butt. But we're physically imposing. We're the
Yeah.
physical presence at our
Right.
house. But
Right.
I think that's and for all the teachers out there listening, for anyone also who's a mom who's a single parent who's going to parent teacher conferences and talking to their child. I think that's important to make sure that we understand. Look, we obviously don't want kids trying to undermine or
Right.
making teachers feel a certain kind of way in school,
Right.
but it is incumbent upon the adult in that situation, which is the school administrator, the teacher, to just understand that this kid is a man of his household. So you do have to approach conversations with them differently.
Right. Right. That's where, like I said, one of the things that I want to work with just people in general on whatever industry it's in is building that restorative mindset so that you can make that choice to listen and to hear and to do some things differently. And I know a lot of times when people, when I talk to teachers and things about using restorative practices where in the classroom where it's big on communication, it's big on uh, not being punitive, but but using different methods to work with our kids. Uh, a lot of people look at it as, you're being soft, and you just don't want to suspend kids. You need to suspend them, or you need
Yeah.
to. I'm like, we've been suspending kids and doing that for years, and it ain't changed anything.
Yeah. Well,
And
how is that?
but and I do agree that sometimes I need to suspend you, little Johnny. I need to send you home. But
Mm-hmm.
I also feel that we need to get better at talking and building that relationship like that. And it's not easy. It's not easy for a teacher to do, because a teacher is teaching a class and they don't have the time that I, as an administrator, might have. And so us administrators, we have to know that also. So we have to really support our teachers, be they black, white, blue, or pink, in how to do it, and how to use different techniques in the classroom in order to be restorative and to build relationships. And then we have to do that with our kids. Our kids can't just see us as disciplinarians,
Right.
or just as the people that are providing the rules. They have to see us walking around the campus. They have to see us at the games. They have to see us in the community. They have to see us so that they humanize us,
Right.
And as we talk to them, they have to see us being vulnerable in conversations and things like that, in order for them to learn to trust us. You know,
Yeah.
that's something that I'm really working hard on in at the detention facility, is having these kids see me in a situation where we are talking and we are communicating, and they can see me, they can see the truth in me, you know, and I'm not just they don't just see me as another suit, or
Right.
as somebody that's just here to put the hammer down, but they need to understand that I will put the hammer
Yeah.
down. I did grow up with a black daddy, so I will do what I have to do, but
Yeah.
I also need you to know that it's okay if you don't like me, and it's okay if I don't like you right now.
Right.
But what am I going to do next? After we've had this blow up and we've made these mistakes, what do I do next? Do I
Yeah.
just chastise you and walk away, or do I do something to help build you back up? Do I do something to let you know that life's not done, life's not over? What's next? How do we move from this point? How do we restore this relationship? How do we bring you back into this community? And that's what
Yeah.
our kids need to see. How can they be brought back into a community, whether it's the community that they just left or the community that they want to really go into? Because
Mm.
all our kids, when I'm looking at these kids, whether they're black, brown, pink, white, blue, it don't matter, they crave some sort of order. They crave they crave organization, and we can provide them with that, but only if we're talking to them,
Yeah.
only if we're consistent, only if we are fair, and we learn to build trust with them, and then we can move from that. But if we don't do that, if we don't build the trust with them, if we don't talk to them, if we don't even more so listen, and we're not just waiting to talk when we're listening, then
Yeah.
we'll never get to that point.
That's so true. Dwight, I wish we had more brothers and sisters like you working in school districts and at SCOE, but I'm glad that we have you there. So, yeah, much appreciation. Listen, we could probably talk for hours on end about education. Um, but before we close up this episode, Dwight, is there um, anything that I haven't asked you that you would absolutely love to share with viewers, whether it be about yourself or just working with young people in the Sacramento region?
uh, well, I think for me, it's like I said, I never really thought about any type of impact that I've ever really had on anybody. Every now and then you reflect back, and you then you can kind of start seeing something, or you hear somebody say something, or maybe a kid will come up to you and say, "Yeah, I remember you did blah blah blah," and so it makes me think back to people that did that for me, you know, whether it was a teacher, whether it was a parent or a family or a community member, and even at this age, I find myself, reaching out to those people just to say thank you,
Mm,
for the impact that they had on me, that I didn't realize it at the time, and just thanking them for kind of helping to shape me, and even relationships that you've been in. Like I said, I've been with my wife for knowing her for 30 something years, and I think without the support that she's shown me, as a partner in all that time, I wouldn't be able to do whatever. And my whole thing is, I hope that I have supported her as much as she has supported me, so that she can do the things that she wants to do. Uh, So just reciprocating and listening and knowing that the journey isn't over until it's over, and that you will be learning from the time you come into the world to the time you go out. Just uh, continue on the path that that you want. Ask questions and continue to network, and meet brothers such as yourself and such as Rolando, that that can show you things that you don't think of. I was thanking Rolanda the other day. She I received an award, a Men of Honor award, through Rolanda's organization, and I told her, I said, I want to thank you for opening my eyes to a network that I
That's right.
didn't know the depth of the network,
That's
and
right.
I saw different people in the network, but I didn't realize how that network interconnected, you
Yep.
know, and I had to thank her for that, because she kind of sparked some things in me that's making me want to do some more work. I have a sense of urgency now. I've
That's
already
right.
thrown 3 projects at her in the in the last month,
That's right.
but I'm thankful for that. I was talking to my youngest son and just about networking and knowing the worth of the network, and how you can use that to help you to get to where you're trying to go to.
Yeah.
So just, like I said, being thankful and being present and being supportive of people around you, to give them the things that people have given you.
Yep.
So that's
I love
about it.
I love that. Pay it forward and reach back.
Right.
And I want to second what you mentioned. Sister Rolanda has done an amazing job, even with this platform of
Right.
uh, of connecting those of us who our organization has honored over the years. And I've got to meet, in addition to some amazing brothers like you, several brothers and sisters through Rolanda. And as we build this network, pulling more people in, where these
Right.
conversations become, regular conversations that we're having, not just on this platform, but
Right.
creating spaces for us to get together and break bread. So I
Exactly.
think she's done an amazing job of bringing us all together. So
Yeah.
outstanding. Dwight, man, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. I personally look forward to connecting with you both
Yes.
on social media and in person at some point.
That was like a plan, man. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Have a great weekend. Everyone listening, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Let's Talk Black Man. We'll see you all next time. Thank you,
All
Dwight.
right. Thank you.